Iran's Supreme Leader has been addressing Friday prayers in Tehran for the first time in nearly 5 years. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei denounced Iran's enemies, pointing to Israel for trying to sow the seeds of division in the Islamic world. The Ayatollah told a huge crowd in the Grand Mosalla Mosque that Iran and its allies must roll up their sleeves and prepare for action. The ceremony began with commemorations for the Hezbollah leader Qasem Soleimani, who was killed by Israel last week. Well, let's go straight to our BBC Persian correspondent Kasra Naji. He is currently on reporting assignment for the BBC Persian in Israel. Hello to you again. Just take us through the significant points that you felt came out of that address at Friday prayers.
Well, it was a significant speech coming at a time when here in Israel, Israeli leaders are basically planning their response to Tuesday night's Iranian missile attacks on Israel. And that response we feel here that could come any moment, any hour, any day now. And no doubt Israeli leaders were watching what's going on in Tehran too, where, as you say, the Iranian leader, for the first time in nearly 5 years, appeared at a mass prayer in Tehran to basically mark what has been going on in the last few weeks, and also particularly the killing of the leader of Hezbollah recently. He was very defiant, he was angry, he called on Muslim nations to unite. He said the enemy of all of our nations is one, whether we are in Iran, whether in Iraq, Syria, Egypt, all these countries that he named, basically Egypt, Yemen, where he says our enemy is one enemy, and this enemy is trying to divide us with the tactic of divide and rule, and we have to come to each other's support. He supported the Hamas attack on October the 7th on Israel. He said this attack was a correct, rational and legal, as he called it. He also praised Iran's action on Tuesday night, firing nearly 200 ballistic missiles into Israel, saying that that was also legitimate and legal. He said it was the least punishment for Israel, whom he called the rabid dog of the U.S. In the region. He also particularly was called on Palestinians to resist the Israelis. He said Palestinians have every right to resist an enemy which is trying to usurp their rights, take their homes and kill them. So it was a defiant thing by the Iranian leader, and he also used the second sermon in Arabic to say much the same things, praising Qasem Soleimani, the late leader of Hezbollah, and calling on people to resist Israel. He said the presence of superpowers in the region is one of the main problems that this region cannot see peace.
Kasra, he was obviously talking, we're seeing pictures of the tens of thousands of people that were listening to him directly. Who do you think, as he was speaking, he was addressing his message to?
Well, obviously, the Arab world, and particularly what Iran calls the axis of resistance. We're talking about Hezbollah, we're talking about Houthis in Yemen, we're talking about militias in Syria and in Iraq particularly. because before Tuesday night, they were losing hope in the leadership of Iran's leadership of this axis, because Iran hadn't acted on several actions of Israel, including the assassination of the Hamas leader in Tehran in July. So these groups and members of this axis of resistance were losing hope, and Iran was losing face, and Iran had to do something, and they decided, I think reluctantly, to take this action of firing 200 missiles into Israel to show that they are still resisting Israel, and they are there for them, for the axis of resistance in the region. I say reluctantly because I feel that Iran is not in a position to enter a war, really, militarily, politically, economically. Militarily, Iran is no match for Israel, particularly Israel's air superiority. Politically, Iran regime and Ayatollah Khamenei are vastly unpopular in Iran, and it's not quite certain that if a war breaks out, the Iranian population as a whole will back that kind of a war that they think has got nothing to do with Iran. Also economically, don't forget, Iran has been under international sanctions for years. Iran's economy is on its knees, and Iran cannot really sustain a war, a massive war in the region.
Kasra Naji, thank you so much for that analysis. That was our BBC Persian correspondent, Kasra Naji.